Okay, it is 10:43 a.m., January 25th, Sunday morning, and I just got out of the shower, washed all the conditioner out of my hair. And now my hair is really, really wet, and I have a towel. I'm going to air dry it, and then I'm going to blow dry it later. So what I have to do is I have to let it air dry first before I blow dry it. And, my hair is very brittle, and it could easily break. So I have to take special care of my hair. So anyway, as I was in the bathroom thinking, I wanted to clarify these issues because, I want to address this issue of racism, okay? Because obviously racism played a huge role in this uh, hate campaign. It's a hate crime, period. And so, a lot of people wonder, like, well, how is it that I can feel this way about people? Like, I look at people as just individuals. I take people on individual basis, mainly because I grew up in a toxic environment where I was betrayed by my family, who is black, and adopted, right? And then the people around them were also just as equally brainwashed, okay, if not more, okay. I will say, when it comes to hatred, when I believe all people are filled with hate, and then this has a lot to do with people dealing with generational ignorance, as well as the institutional ignorance, as well as cover up of information, has led people to make bad choices and become more animalistic, I guess, in their nature, as well as, like I said, the generational ignorance plays a huge role in it. I see how people, think it's okay to discipline people. In this case, for example, Sarah feels as though she could, apply fees based on her authority alone. Like, she has the right to inflict pain on other people just because she feels like it, when there should be legal processes involved. It somehow just overrides everything. So we have a lot of ignorance in society, okay? So there's a lot of combinations of different things. And this is one of the reasons why I was talking about the moral reset, because people really need to know the difference between what is legal, what they have the right to do, what constitutes a crime, the difference between what is a religious issue and what is actually supposed to be applied to everyone across the board. I gave the example of traffic violations. Okay, everybody has to drive a certain speed limit, typically 55, 60 miles an hour, like on the freeway, right? So everybody has to drive that. When they get to places like residential areas or school areas, they slow down. Okay, this is just an example of how everybody has to follow the same rule. Okay, same thing applies when it comes to ethics, same thing when it comes to ethics, how we deal with one another, being able to tolerate each other, understanding not everybody has the same background. Like, I'm not going to see the world from the same perspective as somebody like Angelo. Okay, Angelo had a different upbringing. He had a different environment. He was exposed to similar things, but different things still. Okay, he also was probably somebody who was raised with a lot of white ideology, white supremacist views, so on and so forth. Okay, and I myself have kind of studied people like that throughout the years. My point is that, I understand. To me, I look at everybody as equally evil, wicked, capable of all kinds of horrible things. So I don't sit here and when I comes to me, I look at people as just in general, I need to be safe from, like, I need to be protected from. Okay, but I do believe that I was handled in this situation based on race. Why? Because of the issue of Sarah. Now, throughout my life, I have experienced racism in different forms. And it's important for me to note that I have experienced a lot of racism, right, from Mormons. For Mormons, okay? And the reason why is because Mormons are very well versed on things like genealogy, bloodlines. They are very obsessed with bloodlines, okay? And contrary to what a lot of white people would like to believe, there's nothing inferior about my race whatsoever, okay? But there are white people who feel very threatened by the fact that I'm an intelligent person. This is the main reason why C.B. Braganza was demonized by the church, okay? But yet people stole from him. Same situation. I don't believe Sarah liked me at all. She was interested in my projects and possibly felt threatened by them. And because she did this little hate campaign. This is a typical behavior, historically proven, that many white people have enacted on people of color. Okay, very Jim Crowish, behavior. Now, when I say this, I am in no way trying to excite any sort of issues or violence when it comes to white people. I am just stating the facts. Okay, I am simply stating the facts. Okay, like I said, when I left Murray Family Farms, I did not play the race card, but people really, 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 really wanted to make it out that way. And who was probably at the helm of that? Bruce and Sarah. Okay, I was shocked because number one, regardless whether you're black or white, okay, to sit here and want to dig into what a person does with their own hair, okay, is intrusive. So I was like, this is not normal. Okay, so I was like, this isn't normal. I knew it was against the law because what I'm saying is it's a form of harassment that's not supposed to take place in the workplace. So I was startled to have to encounter this every place I went. Okay, so yes, they were in violation. And even though they were in violation, I was the one who upheld the confidentiality contract. So when people talk about racism, okay, because some people would like to say, oh, you're exaggerating or whatever. No, I'm not exaggerating. Okay, this is the truth. This is exactly what happened to me. I didn't have anything to do with Sarah, right? But because Sarah was a white woman, she came into this community and people were bending over backwards to accommodate this woman. And why? Because she was white. And maybe she might have made up a story that I was in competition, or maybe I was either a part of their little love triangle, or I was trying to break up their happy home, or whatever. Okay, but we had people jumping on the bandwagon, bending over backwards to accommodate this wicked white woman. Period. Okay, so like I said, I don't sit here and hold race against people because, like I said, I have witnessed some of the most horrible people in all shades. Okay, so this issue, but I do acknowledge the fact that this issue was racist. Period. Okay, because I didn't do anything, and yet we had the participation of Angelo Zenito doing everything he could to make sure that this woman won over me. Right? I don't appreciate what you did, Angelo. Okay, I'm a woman who deserves respect, and I don't appreciate you and your hate crime. And that's exactly what it was. And you can use things like marijuana. Maybe he wants to focus on the fact that I smoke marijuana, so he doesn't have to accept the fact that he's no different than a Ku Klux Klan member. Because I know a lot of white people. Joel Graham, he smoked weed like there was like nobody's business. Okay, Joel Graham was actually the person who got me started to smoke weed again when I moved to this community. Because when I first moved to this community, I wasn't smoking weed again. I left my weed back in Cal City because I moved here from Cal City. Okay, and I stopped smoking weed, right? Because I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anybody. So when I first met Joel reintroduced me to weed all over again. Joel's white. Okay, so does anybody jump on him? No, of course not. This is a issue of an attack on me because I'm black. Period. Okay, so when it comes to Angelo Zenino, he would like to believe, oh, well, yeah, I'm going to use the excuse of it is just what it is. You were supporting her because she was white, period. Okay, and I don't even know this woman. Okay, even more obnoxious is the fact that when I was working at BT Trucking, okay, this is how unprofessional and how these people are always on the, always pressing the issue to where they're about to start a hostile environment. When I got to BT Trucking, I forgot his name. I cannot remember his first or his last name, but I actually thought this Mexican dude was black. He looked black, okay? And that's all I can tell you. Okay, but he started this conversation about how Mexican people are more likely to be favored among white people in management positions. And I kept thinking, you as a manager should not even be talking about this, even though it was true. Okay, it is true. Why? Because people have their racist issues. They do. Okay, and so then Mexicans will sit here and kiss up to white people, hoping that they can get a piece of the white pie. I've seen it. It's obnoxious to me. Okay, it is obnoxious. Why? Because white Mexican people are sitting here willing to stay at people in the back so that they can sit here and elevate themselves. I find it obnoxious. Okay, I really do. Okay, but what he was saying is true. I've seen the racism played out here in this community. Was it appropriate for him to say this in the context of work? Absolutely not. Okay, he should have kept that opinion to himself. Why? Because unlike most people, I'm a realist. Okay, so I understood what he was saying was true. It was inappropriate, but true. Okay, but at the same time, he should know not to talk about those sort of things. Okay, and yes, I do believe that these people were highly influenced by the LDS Church. Why? Because the LDS Church has historically been extremely racist. Okay, I've experienced racism growing up, and I do believe that, as Maria Borden, and I do recall, I mean, I don't recall, but I know for a fact, based on my intuitive messages relating to C.B. Berganza, the LDS Church was always after C.B. Braganza only because he was black. Okay, for no other reason. Okay, so my view about this issue about bringing clones back, like bloodline targeting, right, is because there must be some sort of allegiance that the LDS Church had to specific bloodlines that they felt should have been looked upon as respectable. And so they like to attack bloodlines, right? That perhaps maybe at one point in history, maybe there was some sort of conflict, right? Like, for example, maybe, just for example, okay, I'm talking about, I'm going to mention like the royal family, for example. Okay, I don't have any beef with the royal family. Okay, but I can't think of anybody right now that I can think of. So let's just say, for example, the LDS Church was loyal to, like, for example, the royal family, right? And they look at anybody who's not a part of the royal family as someone who's in competition of the royal family. Obviously, I'm not in the competition of the royal family, but because the LDS Church favors them, they look at, well, you're either for us or against us, so therefore they want to attack other races that are not of them, or maybe a German bloodline or whatever. This is just an example, okay? And like I said, I don't sit here and feel that sort of rage to them, okay? So really, the LDS Church needs to adjust their attitude. There's something wrong there, okay? There is something wrong there, because I don't believe, I know that it is quite obvious that when I have encountered Mormon people, that they obviously let their racism show. I know when I worked for Rhonda Van Tassel, and Rhonda Van Tassel, this is in no way me trying to attack you, okay? But I've experienced the insensitivity that you and your religious people have towards people of color. You have said numerous times in front of me, okay, rude and insensitive things, right? And it's just normal. It just comes right out of your mouth because you have no regard for anybody else other than your little LDS crew. Okay. And she might think that, Maria's a nice person or whatever, but they dehumanize people instantly. This is exactly how they treat people, and they should be aware of it. Okay. And so this is the reason why I reacted the way I did. I did not expect to have to deal with this in the context of work. Okay, so LDS needs to know how to, number one, manage their people. Like I talked about, what is that lady's name? Little Miss 8 Passengers. I cannot think. Sometimes Ruby Frank. That's her. Okay, LDS does not know how to deal with people in general. Okay, this includes not just people of color, but even people within their own congregation. Okay, because they do not have empathy. They lack empathy. Okay, and they seem very obsessed with power. More power is more important than emotion. Power is more important than actual balance of the entire system of what a person is supposed to exist. Okay, they want power. Okay, and so this is one of the reasons why they were obsessed possibly with this Swan Song Manifesto. They thought, oh, okay, well, who does she think she is? I found out that I was a part of a disgusting clone system, okay, that I find disgusting, and that people like the LDS Church use as hate propaganda. So now I'm going to sit here and write about my experience as a clone, coming to understand how to set up in a fake family, coming to understand that, I came to this community and then people were having some sort of, vendetta against me that I had nothing to do with, all because a white woman instructed this. Okay, and that's pretty much the story. So when it comes to the LDS Church, I'm just addressing it. You have issues that you need to work on. You do. Okay, and so you either work on them or whatever. Whatever the case is, stop affecting my life. Okay, because I didn't deserve it. Okay, so anyway, the message I'm getting right now is that yes, me and my father are soul travelers. Okay, we are connected by love. Our unique experience. Okay, our unique experience. I would say I have a unique experience. Why? Because most people have this stereotypical image of what Black people are supposed to be in their mind. Okay. And so when they meet me, they're like, oh, wow, she's really smart. And they've always said this. Okay. Another thing that they'll say is, oh, you're so articulate, which I find offensive. Okay. Because yes, Black people can be articulate. Okay. It's like, it has nothing to do with trying to be white. What it is if once you understand how the English language is supposed to be utilized, you utilize it correctly. It's that simple. Okay. So no, I'm not delusional thinking that I'm going to be white, that I have the same, privileges as white people. I know that I can't abuse people and do crimes and get away with it like white people. Okay, so I'm just letting you guys know here in the community, I'm on to you. I'm not dumb. The message I'm getting right now is now it is understood it was all their fault. Of course I'm different. I was responding to their environment, absolutely. Okay, so when it comes to understanding how to make yourself better, there's a thing called humility. Humility is when you open up your mind to the possibility that maybe you need to understand something. When it comes to the LDS Church, you need to understand that you dehumanize other races, and you have historically. There's proof of it. Okay, and so what you did was you sided with Sarah, possibly because Sarah was just because she was white. Whether she could have been Mormon and she could not be. Like I said, I haven't done readings on it and I don't care. Okay, she could have just could have just did it because you sided with her just because she was white. Right or wrong, whether she was right or wrong, you were going to take her word for it just because she was white. Okay, or you could have supported her because she's a member of your church. Okay, whether it be the old-fashioned Mormon church that still practices polygamy, right? Or maybe she's a member of the new modern Latter-day Saints that claims to not participate in polygamy. However, if this issue where Bruce was pretending to have two wives, if Bruce was sitting here harassing me with Sarah, and then harassing me for being single, why would he do that? Unless, of course, he's trying to absorb me into his little polygamous thing. So my question is, my statement would be, it seems as though you would be in violation of your so-called claim of not participating in polygamy in the modern day. Okay, so all I'm saying is that there's a lot of hypocrisy, and I notice when white people get pinned down and they can't deny their crime, then they sit there and they want to inflict more bullshit. Is what they want to do. Okay, which takes me back down to this issue of the fourth quarter when I wanted to wrap up this nonsense. Really, I wanted it to end. So what did they do? They sat here and they wanted to steal money from my bank account, right? And then they wanted to put me in a situation where I had to struggle with the rent, right? This is what they did all on purpose at Sarah's instruction, because Sarah's white and possibly Mormon. Okay, and if she's a Mormon who practices polygamy, I would like to know why they would support a polygamous person when they said they have distanced themselves from this practice a long time ago. You know why? Because they're hypocrites. That's why. So when it comes to the Mormon church, I want you to understand what you do. Okay, what you do is you dehumanize people naturally, instinctively, intuitively. Why? Because you are obsessed with power. Okay, and it's as simple as that. Okay, and I'm not obsessed with the same worldly power that you're obsessed with. It seems as though you're interested in people's projects. You're interested in what people are possibly, potentially able to make. You're obsessed with power and money. And that's what it seems like to me. Okay, and so I'm going to move on from the subject. I feel as though I need to talk about this because I'm tired of suffering for your stuff. Okay, whether you're of the Mormon branches of the polygamy people or you're the modern day whatever. Okay, and this goes for all the other churches who decided to add their 2 cents worth of abusing a person just at the instructions of a white woman. Okay, because I'm tired of dealing with it. Okay, and not one moment did I was ever convinced that this had anything to do with religion, being in alignment with Christ, or emulating anything of any sort of angelic order. I knew it was bullshit from the get-go. I just needed to figure out who was initiating the bullshit. Okay, so yes, LDS, you are in violation if that is the case, and those are the scenarios. Okay, and I do not want to argue with you because I do want to have peace. I need to move on. Okay, but every day that I'm sitting here at home without a job, I'm sitting here getting more and more pissed off. My mind wants to get closure. Okay, and I don't expect you to understand anything about the human mind, because if you did, you wouldn't be abusing the people that you do. Okay, but people need closure, meaning that you've caused a serious problem, a problem that is very hard for a person to grasp. Okay, something that catches a person off guard, something that was so unjust and so hypocritical, especially for people who claim to be like representatives of Christ. This is a scandal on so many different levels. Okay, and so I'm shocked by the measures that you would take to try to hide it, to try to punish people for it, to try to silence people, try to bully people, to be a part of a covert program that was meant to hurt people. Okay, and so that's exactly what you did. Okay, now I know that a lot of people ended up dying. I'm shocked because that didn't have to happen. And if people were following employment law, this would have never happened. Okay, so now I'm starting to think about people who I have come in contact with, right, who was probably contacting me at the instructions of Sarah, right? Okay, and so people like Elon Musk and all these other people who were contacting me on behalf of Sarah, I'm going to look at you as very strange people that I would avoid in the future. Why? Because you have proven to me something that I don't want to have to, even acknowledge. But I've lost respect for these people. Why? Because they are willing to let people suffer to protect the reputation of a very dishonest white woman. Period. Okay, so the message I'm getting right now is that people are looking at me and acknowledging the fact that my reputation is good, and that my story highlights me as somebody who is worthy of respect. Why? Because I handled everything correctly. Okay, and contrary to what people want to believe, people would love to believe, like for example, I have dealt with white people who want to believe that black people are this and this. Okay, I will tell you that if you see, like, especially when they use the word ghetto, right? Ghetto, I'm going to tell you what ghetto is. Ghetto is institutional. Okay, I want you to use this as an example. Okay, I'm somebody who has been dedicated to, as a hard worker. I do everything I possibly can, and there's a systematic process that keeps you down. Okay, so when people call you ghetto, okay, you know exactly what they mean by that. Okay, it is, number one, it's ignorant, it's rude, it's crude, and it's also a acknowledgement of the systematic processes that keep people there. Okay, the ghettos were created, and there's ways that people keep them there. So don't sit here and act like, oh, it's black people are lazy. Some are. Okay, I'm going to be honest. There are some black people who are extremely lazy, but that doesn't apply to me. But you'd like to believe that. Just like they wanted to believe that I was artistic, and they refused to acknowledge the fact that I was analytical. You know why? Because they were threatened by my intelligence. The message I'm getting right now is that, yes, my father's apparition is wanted, and wanted forever. People like my father's apparition. Okay. And then something about me working in, oh, yeah. Okay. So there's a lot of people who are acknowledging the fact that this is exactly what it is. Okay. And when it comes to the Mormon church, they're acknowledging that, yes, I am connected to my father with love. Okay. And I don't believe the Mormon church knows anything about love at all. Okay, just based on the situations where, it used to bother me is that I would be so disrespected by these Mormon kids at school, right? They would call me the N word and any other little racially derogatory thing that they can come up with, and then they would always want me to, get that burning bosom that burning in the bosom, like they wanted to convert me to Mormonism. Like, does that even make sense? I will often wonder how the hell Gladys Knight ended up in your congregation, or as a Mormon. Okay, is she not aware of the racial oppression that you guys have put on people? Just the black people weren't even able to even hold the priesthood until the late 1970s, and the only reason why is, I suspect, is because they wanted them to get in, like maybe BYU, for athletic issues. Okay, I don't have faith in Mormons when it comes to them being able to treat people correctly. Okay, and I'm being honest with you. Okay, my father was well aware of the racism of Mormons. That's why, because when I was little, the Mormon church used to be behind the this desert area, right? So we would have to go to a place called Market Basket to go get our groceries, right? So my dad used to sit there and tell me, Maria, don't go by the Mormon church. You go all the way around if you have to. You stay away from those people. Okay, you know why? Because Mormon people are imps when it comes to racism. They don't know when to stop. It's so normal to them that they can't help but be cruel. Okay, and this is a fact. Okay, so I'm addressing the Mormon church with all sincerity. Okay, I'm telling you how it is and what I'm aware of what you are and the kind of output that you have. Okay, so now that you know, the ball's in your court. Okay, but until you can actually behave and whatever, stay the hell away from me. Thank you. Message I'm getting right now is that people are acknowledging the fact that I am right. Everyone in this community knows that I'm right. Everyone. Okay, so I would say I'm a very peaceful person. Okay, I didn't deserve your abuse. And yes, it is abuse. Okay, coercion is abuse. Why? Because you know good and well nobody wants to be put in that situation. So what Sarah did was she wanted to coerce my son and punish my son, right? So that I was supposed to appease her, right? Appease her. I don't even know her. Okay, and so why did you support her? Oh, because she's white, right? Okay, well, you did the wrong thing. Okay, because I don't have anything to do with Sarah. And another message I'm getting is to celebrate something about me being single. Okay, yeah, I am single. Okay, and the fact that you guys would be dumb enough to sit here and try to penalize me for being single after everything that you put me through. Okay, of course I'm going to be single. Why wouldn't I be single? Right? Didn't you convince Joel Graham that something was wrong with me? Didn't you sit here and, like, tell the entire community that something was wrong with me? So why would I want to date any of these people? Okay, so no, I'm not dating anybody. It would make sense. And then you want to penalize me for choosing to be single because I don't trust anybody. I want you to think about the things that you do at the LDS church. I want you to think about that. Okay, so now I understand where the LDS. I think I understand where the LDS contacts come from. What boggles my mind is how the kids of 533 was supporting this nonsense. Okay, you guys are stupid. Okay, and I understand, like, as when I was younger, I didn't realize how entangled and warped racism is. Okay, the older I get, I am polite. Let's put it this way: I'm polite. Okay, because being polite is all I have left. Okay, I now understand how vicious and psychotic, okay, white people with combining religion can be. Okay, and it's wicked. So I'm letting you know, Mormon Church, you got a problem. Okay, the message I'm getting right now is that yes, people recognize my surviving being a survivor of MK Ultra, and I am deserving of good positions. I am. Okay, but see, we have an issue here because you guys think that my survival, my basic survival, is somehow a threat to the Mormon Church or the white race, or that I sit here and think, man, how can I do Whitey? I am not thinking about how I'm going to outdo Whitey. Okay, you don't exist in my world, nor do black people. Okay, the only issue is it's a means to an end. I got to support myself. I'm tired of my son being worn ragged, so I have to do something. Okay, I don't have a husband, so I guess it's up to me. Okay, it is as simple as that. Okay, but it seems as though these people in the Mormon church sit here and think, oh, well, Maria's trying to. I don't think on those terms. I don't think on those terms. I don't think about race or upping somebody. Or I don't think about that. And believe it or not, I don't. Okay, and I have this perspective because I realized I was growing up that people around me were dishonest, they were hateful, they were spiteful, and now that I come to understand where I came from, yes, it had a lot to do with MK Ultra. I have never met anybody honest, black, white, or in between. Okay, they've all been mind controlled. Okay, so I don't have that. Seriously, I don't. Okay, but I am aware of the tactics that white people use when they are dealing with racism. I'm very much aware of it. Okay, and I'm also aware of the things that and the denial that they go through. They want to sit here and blame it on anything else. They don't want to admit that they're the kind of person that would kill you just because you're a different color. So they'll sit there and say, oh, well, yeah, it's because she smokes weed, or it's because she's whatever. It's always an excuse with these people, right? Because they don't want to admit the fact that they're nothing more than a Ku Klux Klan member trying to assimilate into society and act normal. Okay, yes, I understand exactly what I'm dealing with. Okay, the message I'm getting right now is that, okay, that there are a lot of people who are acknowledging this issue and there is a lot of sympathy, and I am set free. Okay, so my issue is what's going on with Sarah. I don't know if Sarah's alive or she's dead. Okay, all I can tell you is you can't expect me to care about her well being. Okay, Sarah is basically has abused my son. Okay, and I'm very angry about it. Okay, and they normalize it. See the kind of warped injustice these people have. Yeah, they want to sit here and act like, oh, okay, well, it's because Marie. I don't care what I smoke weed. If I smoke weed, that does not deserve a penalty. Okay, and she doesn't have the right to impose that and then enforce it. See, and I believe everyone in this community was aware of this deception, including the landlord. Okay, so I'm expected to appear in court and look at these people. Okay, so I'm trying to work things out as best as I possibly can because I don't want to see these people. Okay, I mean, I feel as though these people have really pushed me. They have pushed their limit. Okay, because like I said, when you lose a job under the circumstances that I lost a job, okay, after that happens and the little things that happen after that, you need to be aware that this is probably some sort of what do you call it? Some sort of setup. Okay, and like my son, he does his best to follow the orders because like I said, he told me that time that the cashew issue, he was trying to follow his orders. Maybe he didn't fully understand it, but he was trying to. And I kept thinking, no. Mm-mm. And then when he didn't pay the rent in November, I knew that was bullshit too. Okay. So everything that goes on, I'm aware of. Okay, because I'm tired of people manipulating. And I will tell you, as somebody who is associated with the church, this is exactly why a lot of people leave religion. This is exactly why people choose not to be a part of religion. It's the hypocrisy. Okay, and I've known people who, like for example, agnostic people. Agnostic people, they don't really know if there's a God or not. They just figure, well, if there is, great. If not, whatever. They don't really care. It's not that important to them. Okay, a lot of people left religion because the people who were supposed to represent the faith turned a lot of people off. Okay. And in this case, with the people who participated in this, I don't care which church you belong into, because I know a lot of churches participated in this. Okay. You're the reason why people get turned off. You're the reason why. And then you expect people to want to be a part of your religion. I would not want to be associated with something like that. Okay. You lie. Okay. You set people up. You deceive people. You're dishonest. You hurt people for no apparent reason. And you enjoy doing it. Okay, you guys, everything that you guys did showed me that you have nothing to do with this so-called Jesus Christ person that you claim to follow. Okay, and I'm aware of it. Okay, so me and my items, yes, my items might be enchanted. Good, great if they are. You know what I mean? I feel as though what do you call it? Angels and these what do you call it? Benign spirits or whatever are far more better to associate than people here on Earth. You know why? Because you guys are abusive. Okay, if that means I must have angelic protection. Okay, and angelic beings and assistance that is coming for me. Okay, because I will tell you, I'm glad. Okay, the God works. What they say, the Lord works in mysterious ways. I hate that expression, right? But it's true. Okay, the Lord works in mysterious ways. Okay, and I'm very grateful that there has been divine protection provided for me. Even we don't know how that form comes. Maybe it's in the form of my father's apparition. It could be the fact that maybe there is a guiding light, an angel of light that gets inside of maybe a stuffed animal or something. And yeah, that does happen. Okay, they got to be somewhere. You know what I mean? They got to be somewhere, and they got to make contact. Okay, and it is what it is. Okay, but I obviously am a moral person. I am obviously somebody who believes in the divine. Okay. And yes, when it comes to people who are serving the divine, I consider these people who go to church, we are in the same situation. I try my hardest to walk in the footsteps of the anointed one, the divine, Christ, whatever, however you want to refer to it. Okay. And I would think that because you have that title, that's what you're supposed to be doing. Okay. Maybe I look at things differently than you do, and I'm always going to. You have to understand, historically, the LDS Church has done nothing but abuse C.B. Braganza and has abused Maria Gordon as well. Okay. And there is no denying that the LDS Church needs to either overcome or acknowledge their racist behavior, right? Or whatever. Okay. But you are in the wrong, LDS Church. And yes, you have exhibited racist behavior for everyone in this community to see. Okay. And that's what you did. Okay. I am a human being and I deserve to be acknowledged for the things that I contribute aside from my race. No, what I do has nothing to do with, I don't sit here in my bed like, I want to make the Swan Song Manifesto because I want to beat out the Mormon church. It never occurred to me to do that. Okay. It was a very heartfelt thing that I was hurt, like hurt deep down, like a hurt that you could not even explain, right? Understanding that my entire world was fabricated. So now where do I go now? I never thought, well, I wonder what the Catholics are going to think. I wonder what the Mormons are going to think. I don't care what they think. Okay, I'm not trying to offend anybody. It's just that this is devastating and I think it needs to be recorded. Okay, so it's as simple as that. Okay, and I'm really disturbed that all of this happened, and I do believe that you're responsible for the support of it. Okay, and you should be ashamed of yourself. Okay, and that's all I have to say. And don't sit here and try to make a big deal out of this or try to retaliate. It needs to be said. Okay, because I deserve to have closure. Closure is something that is important to people's mental well being. Okay, when they have been dealt a low blow. And I've been dealt low blow multiple times since leaving Murray Family Farms, and including before that. Okay, so if I need to coddle myself, if I need to talk it through, okay, because God knows if I was to go to one of your institutions, right, I'm not going to get the help I need, and you know it. Okay, I will get gaslighted. I will be given some sort of drug that's not going to help me. You ain't going to help me at all. Okay, you know good and well that this is the kind of stuff and how you operate. So don't act dumb. Okay, so I'm taking care of myself. Okay, and let's just get this. I want this cleared up as it should be, and I want to get on with my life in peace. Okay, in the meantime, you can either correct your views, okay, or whatever. But you are in the wrong, LDS Church, whether you're the ones who practice polygamy or you don't. Okay, and that goes for all the other churches who participated in this nonsense. Okay, I'm wrapping up this video. Take care. Bye bye.